Alright, what's up world? Doing some work on the Subaru today. Kevin was nice enough to give me these motor mounts that he bought. These are Group N motor mounts. I already have the Group N transmission mount. I've had that on for about 2 or 3 years now, and it's held up real well. Nice and strong, nice and firm. So going to be swapping out the old motor mounts for these, and also going to be using Kevin's oil pickup because I believe that mine is fractured somewhere. Oil pressure has been kind of acting wonky, so just to be sure, I want to take off the oil pan and inspect it because we are going to be going to 2K, and I don't want to have any kind of failures or anything happen while we're out there, so might as well take care of it now before any catastrophic things happen. So yeah, come along for the ride and enjoy it. I've got the car jacked up on jack stands, and I'm about to drain the oil. Yeah, I did just do an oil change on this thing, but yeah, with the circumstances, I mean, $30 worth of oil is way less cheaper than a $4,000 short block. So yeah, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to drain the oil into here, and then I'm going to start unbuttoning everything, and as I start doing that, I'll show what it looks like. I'm by myself today, so this is going to be like, you know, kind of just clips of stuff as I do it. I don't think I'll be able to show anything as I do it, but if I can, I will. Got the oil drained. Now I'm going to go ahead and loosen up the pitch stop mount. I'll grab my light. That guy back there. That way I can lift the motor up to take care of the motor mounts. And yeah, keep going with it. So I went ahead and removed the top mount intercooler, and I removed the front bolt for the pitch stop, loosened up the rear one, and then just disconnected this bracket for this AC line just to give me some more room to move, because I will be jacking up the motor for the motor mounts and to also get to the rear bolts on the oil pan. So yeah, now I'm going to go ahead and grab my jack and a block of wood. Got a 4x4 over there that I'm going to be using to push up against the transmission and lift the motor. But before I do that, I'm going to get underneath here, and I'm going to go ahead and break the nuts for the motor mounts. There's one right here and one on the other side. Oh yeah, almost forgot. You should probably undo the transmission mount bolts right here. That way, whenever you push it up, the cradle doesn't go with it. Yep, so be sure to do that. So I had to move the jack underneath the oil pan after searching Naziok for a little while. Also, I put the driver's side nut back in to hold the driver's side part of the motor. Basically lifted up this side of the engine, and I got a ratcheting wrench and basically put all my weight on it. And yeah, let's see if I can get the light to shift over to where you can kind of see. But yeah, there's the motor mount right there. Put my wrench around it. It's kind of difficult to do with one hand, but yeah, so get it around there, and then you can just slowly work her out. Well, let's see. Just like that. And yep, slowly work her out. So I'm going to do that, and then obviously I'm going to get the other side taken off right there. And as you can see, the motor mount has cleared the subframe. So yeah, gonna do that, and then going to loosen up this side and repeat the process. All right, got him out. That was not easy. If you're thinking about doing this, have fun. But anyway, I had to modify my block just a little bit because it kept getting hit on the block. So whenever you jack up the oil pan, just use a block that's just wider than the oil pan itself, and not too crazy wide because it will give you problems. Alright, just a little side-by-side comparison of the two. The upper bracket is a little bit different than the Group N. So this is your stock unit. Obviously it's super dirty. It's the Group N. But for the most part they look very, very similar. I would just assume that this is probably a different polymer. Might be a little harder. I don't know. But anyway, what I'm going to do now is put a little thread lock right here, tighten down these nuts, and shove her back in there. So the nut torque value to the bracket right here is going to be 30 foot-pounds. Got it set up in the vise right here just to keep it from shifting. So I'm going to go ahead and get these tightened down and then put them back in. Oh, also going back in was a lot easier, probably because I didn't have to hack up the wood block. But yeah, just something to be aware of. Got the nut off, driver's side motor mount. Going to repeat the process. It's basically the same thing. So just get her done, and then I'll start on the oil pan. Slight intermission. Had to go pick up some tools. The regular ratcheting 14 mil that I had wasn't cutting it, so I went and picked up these swivel heads. Should make taking out the passenger side a lot easier. So let's get back to it. Alright, so just want to show you the setup that I got right here. Got my swivel wrench on the nut, and then I took another 14 and I basically hooked it on to the open end side of the wrench and then just forced it off. It's going to take a lot of tries, but as you can see, she's turning. Kind of hard to do it with one hand. But yeah, she's turning. So, yep, just be aware. Probably going to have to do that in order to get enough leverage to break that bolt. These rear bolts on the motor mounts are probably the most difficult to take off. Okay, so I ended up having to remove the header. The driver's side mount was just hitting it, so didn't want to budge. I know some of you guys out there are going to be measuring dicks, saying that you could pull it out with the header still on, but I couldn't, so I went ahead and took it off. It's going to make taking off the oil pan a lot easier anyway, so it is what it is. Before I start messing with the oil pan down low, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the dipstick right here. It's just, let's see, it's this bolt, little 10 mil. Going to loosen him up. That way the dipstick tube is nice and loose and won't give me any trouble whenever I'm trying to fool with it. This is the setup that I'm using. Just got a couple extensions and a swivel head at the top. It's a 10 millimeter bolt. You can jack up the car, well, jack up the transmission with a wood block to help protect it. And then just use your hand to kind of guide everything back there. Got the idea from another YouTuber. I'll post a link to his channel in the description. Okay, so how I'm removing the oil pan is I took a sharp blade putty knife and I basically shoved it in right here and then hammered it in and kind of broke this seal a little bit. Alright, broke it right here and then right here. Then I took this small pry bar and I put it in right there and just kind of hammered it across both ways like that to kind of break the seal. And then whenever I hammered it this way, I just kind of left it, and whenever it was, as it was sitting in there, I was able to get my larger pry bar, this guy, and basically insert him in right there and just kind of slowly pry it up. Trying not to mar up the surface as best as I can, but it may happen. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I'm about to drop it down. The pickup is not cracked, but let's see, I don't know if you can really see in there, but there's trash in there. It looks like silicone or something. Just, there's crap in it. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and clean it out, see what it is, and then inspect the oil pan. Alright, So there's definitely glitter in the oil pan, which means bearing material. It's also silicone. I don't know if that's from whenever I was taking the pan off, or I don't know. So, yep, that's fun. Good times. Definitely going to be taking it easy on the car and keeping an eye on my oil pressure and all that stuff. So, it is what it is. It's what happens whenever you race your car and stuff. Something to be aware of. Anyway, gonna get everything cleaned up and get it buttoned back up and just send it. That's what came out of my pickup. It's all rubber. None of it's metal. Yep. That was all shoved up in there. Along with this crap. It's like old gasket material. I bought the car used, so I don't know if maybe the motor blew up before I got it and they replaced the block and just never cleaned out the oil pan, or I don't know. What I'm going to do is clean everything out, probably go up a weight in oil, and just keep an eye on my oil pressure gauge. Is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it right now, considering that I'm in college and I'm trying to graduate. No stranger to the fact that whenever you mod a car and push it, something is bound to break, especially stock block. You know, hopefully she lasts me until I graduate, and then I can get a job and, you know, rebuild it and keep going. I'm not giving up. Just sucks. Whatever. It's all a part of it. Well, I got the pickup tube cleaned out. All the junk and everything's gone. Got the oil pan cleaned out. And I got the surfaces pretty much cleared of all the gasket maker. It's about, I don't know, 98% there. A little bit more that I can take off. But anyway, I'm going to take care of that. And then I got the block side pretty much cleared off all the way. About 99.9% of it gone, so yep. Just waiting on Logan to show up. He's got some gasket maker from Hyundai that we're going to be using. The stuff we used whenever we did his oil pan extension. And we're going to get her buttoned back up, and I went and picked up some Brotella. I'm going to be switching to 540. Gets really hot down here, so I don't know, maybe a higher viscosity will help. Who knows? It's just a band-aid. You know, it's not fixing a problem, and I know this. So no need to let me know in the comments, but I'm sure somebody will. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to get her buttoned up and start her up. My buddy Logan just showed up. Help me out, and we were just kind of talking about the bearings and whatnot. He works over at a dealership. I mean, obviously you guys know that from the last video, but yeah, what were you saying about?
In many cases, whenever I've received a car with bearing issues, if you look at the crank, sometimes you'll see the crank or the caps will be like black. They'll be darkened black from no oil going in and cooling them. They're
Right.
overheat,
Right, friction
material.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't see any on this one, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, so maybe, I don't know, I might be just blowing things way out of proportion. I am using Pro Sport gauges, and I mean, they've been on the car for about 2.5, 3 years, and those are notorious for failing. So the next step is probably going to be to hook up a mechanical gauge and get a actual reading from the oil pressure, and then just go from there. But I don't know, just from him saying that and looking at the crankshaft, makes me feel a little bit better. So I don't know, we're still gonna send it. I mean, I was gonna send it either
That's
way.
always the plan.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's not always going to be black on it if there's an issue, but I mean, there's definitely an issue if there is black.
Yeah,
And there's
exactly.
not, so
Right. So it's just something to maybe check for if you're having the same issue as this or as me. But I don't know. Could possibly be the gauge like I was talking about. But yeah, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to seal her back up and put some fresh oil in it. Just keep chugging along. All right, she's on the ground. Now we're just putting the pitch stop back in. I'm going to put the top mount intercooler back on. That bad boy right there. And start her up. So she's kind of at the semi-warm mark. That's my oil pressure right there, just under 80 psi. When we first started it up, it was around 95, 100, but you can see that needle's kind of bouncing up and down a little bit. I'm pretty sure the gauge is probably going. Just for reference, my wideband cut out on me intermittently a couple of days ago, and now it's kind of working. And then my boost pressure gauge under full boost says I make 26 pounds. So I mean, you know, more than likely these gauges need to be changed. Logan is going to be getting a mechanical gauge, and we are going to be hooking it up just to double check the oil pressure to make sure that everything is copacetic. But I mean, for right now, I'm just going to send it. But yeah, that's going to be it for this one. Appreciate y'all checking it out. Sorry it was quick and dirty, but I was by myself, so, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, see you on the next one.